Number one is the ownership question. Is my dream really my dream? T.S. Eliot said, whatever you think, be sure it is what you think. Whatever you want, be sure that it is what you want. Whatever you feel, be sure that it is what you feel. Are you with me? When I was young, my parents thought that I had musical ability. You just have to understand their parents. And so when I turned about 8, they talked me into taking piano lessons. And I took piano lessons, and to be honest with you, I kind of thought I was pretty good. I didn't really like to practice a lot, but I kind of thought I could do decent on those keys. And I never will forget, I went to my first recital as a child, piano recital, and there was another gal, a friend of mine, who was the same age of mine, Elaine Mosley, and she started taking piano lessons the same time I started taking piano lessons. And I was up before she was, and I did my little piece, and everybody clapped, and I thought, that's pretty good. And then Elaine Mosley got up. As soon as I heard her, I thought, this is not where I'm going to make my mark in life. I could remember I took piano lessons for a few years to please my parents. But my heart wasn't in it. And I can remember when it got to the age where I had to choose between the band and music or playing sports, and I wanted to play sports. I remember that hard conversation, sitting down with my mom and dad and saying, Mom and Dad, I thank you for the piano lessons, but I really want to play ball, and that whole process. What was I doing? I'll tell you what I was doing as a young child. I was sorting out the difference between my dream and someone else's dream. And I can tell you that every one of us have gone through those battles, have we not? Whether we have to ask ourselves, is this my dream or is this someone else's dream? Now, I'm going to explain to you how you can tell the difference. You're going to see two different columns. And one of the columns, when someone else owns your dream, and the right column is when you own your dream. And let me just very quickly give you the difference. You see, when someone else owns your dream, it will not have the right fit. But when you own your dream, it will feel right to you. When someone else owns your dream, it will be a weight on your shoulders. When you own your own dream, it will provide wings to your spirit. When someone else's dream, it will drain your energy. When it's your dream, it will fire you up. When someone else owns your dream, it will put you to sleep. When you own your dream, it will keep you up at night. When someone else owns your dream, it will take you out of your strength zone. But when you own your dream, it will take you out of your comfort zone. When someone else owns your dream, it will be fulfilling to others. But when you own your own dream, it will be fulfilling to you. But this time of day, you'll be tired of filling the blanks. If someone else owns your dream, it will require others to make you do it. But when you own your dream, you will feel you were made to do it. Pretty good difference there, isn't it? And haven't you had people before where you had to keep talking them into their dream? And just picking them up and pulling them on and motivating them and doing all that stuff. I'm just here to tell you that when you own your own dream, can I tell you something? When you own your own dream, nobody has to get you up to fulfill it. You are self-motivated. So how do you take ownership of your dream? Number one, be willing to bet on yourself. Be willing to bet on yourself. You may succeed if nobody else believes in you, but you will never succeed if you don't believe in yourself. And when I say you must be able to bet on yourself, what you're really doing is you're saying, I am going to put my money on me. I believe in me. I can still remember in my middle 20s, most of you know that I had a background as a pastor for 25 years. I was playing golf with a pastor friend of mine. His name was Nathan, and I said, Nathan, at that time I was probably 25. I said, I want to build one of the greatest churches in America. I'm not really sure how to do it, but I'm going to learn how to do it. Well, he said, John, how are you going to learn how to do it? And I told him of my plan because I had, in my desire to build a great church, I kind of conceived a strategy, and it was basically I was going to call the people that were building these great churches, these great pastor leaders, and I was going to ask them for an interview and ask them how they did it. And when I told that to Nathan, he just laughed. He said, John, you got a little dinky church of a couple hundred people. And why would these pastors of these large churches want to ever see you? And that's where I began to say, okay, what I'll do is I'll offer them $100 for 30 minutes of their time. And I was making $12,000 at that time a year. And I'd call them on the phone and say, you don't know me, but I know about you, and you know how to build a church, and I want to learn from you, and can I have 30 minutes of your time? I'll give you $100. And literally over the next 3.5 years, that's exactly what I did. I traveled to their cities, and I sat down with them, had them a tape recorder, had them a legal pad with 5 questions, and asked those questions as quickly as I could, reached in my pocket with my check of $100 already made out in their name, and I handed it to them, shook their hand, and said, thank you. Do you know what I was doing? I was betting on myself. I was putting my money where my dream was. And when people come to me and they say they have a dream, but they don't want to put any stake in it, they don't want to put anything into it energy-wise, time-wise, financially, I look at them and say, they have a daydream. They don't have a dream. They have a daydream. Number 2, if you want to take ownership of your dream, number 2, lead your life instead of accepting your life. Lead your life instead of accepting your life. And you and I both know that the majority of the people, they don't lead their life. They accept their life. One of the Holocaust survivors, we were just in Washington, D.C., as I shared a moment ago, and one of the things we did is we took the leaders through the Holocaust Museum. And then at the end, we had a survivor talk to them about what it was like. Not a dry eye in the place. And Ali Weisel is one of those survivors, wrote the book Souls on Fire. And if you look about halfway, not quite halfway down this paragraph that's in your notes, he says basically that when you die and you go to meet your Maker, you're not going to be asked why you didn't become a Messiah or find a cure for cancer. All you're going to be asked is, why didn't you become you? Why didn't you become all that you are? Reaching your God-given potential requires taking responsibility for yourself and your life. It means taking an active leadership role with yourself. So leading your life requires making the right decisions and then managing those decisions daily. Make them and manage them. Make them and then manage them. Number 3, to take ownership of your dream, you have to love what you do and do what you love. It's just that simple. If you're really going to have ownership of your dream, you need to fall in love with what you're doing. So no one has to get you up every morning and prop you up and tell you how much fun this is going to be. Huh? Are you with me? Because I know a lot of people, you know what I mean? They'll do what they're supposed to do if you'll wake them up. And if you'll go with them all day and help them do it. In my book, Talent is Never Enough, what do I say? Very simple. Talent without passion equals potential without possibility. Passion without talent equals passion without potential. But talent with passion equals potential with passion. The passion makes the difference. Number 4, to own your own dream, don't compare yourself or your dream to others. A lot of times, in the ownership of our dream, we begin to get into what I call this comparison game. In your note, author and friend Joyce Meyer wisely states, God will help you be all you can be, but he will never help you be someone else. If you focus too much attention on who you aren't by comparing yourself to someone else, you lose sight of what you need to become. It's what I call, in my experience, the 18-40-60 rule. When you're 18, you worry about what everybody is thinking about you. Isn't that true? You're 18, you say, well, what do they think? What do they think? Oh, I wonder what they think. When you're 40, you don't give a darn what anybody thinks of you. And then when you're 60, you realize that nobody has been thinking about you at all. Says it all, doesn't it? Says it all. And you know what? You that are young, you know, you're just not quite sure how to handle that. But you notice all of us that are 60 over, we're laughing because been there, done that. When you compare yourself with those superior, you feel inferior. When you compare yourself with those inferior, you feel superior. But when you stop comparing yourself with others, you feel empowered to create or concentrate on your dream. Number 5, believe in your vision for the future even when others don't understand you. Let me talk about this, because we're talking about betting on yourself. We're talking about owning your dream. And now I'm saying that you've got to believe in your dream. You've got to embrace your dream even when there are people who look at you and they haven't figured you out. Do you have people, when they see that you're focused and they see that you've got a dream, do you have some people that just don't understand what you're doing? Can you relate to this, huh? I mean, it's like, what are you doing? Let me give you just one quick example of, because I've experienced this dozens of times in my dream journey. About 15 years ago, my life was kind of changed in a publishing meeting. When I started writing books, all I did was write books to try to help pastors learn how to lead. And in a publishing meeting in Nashville with Thomas Nelson, they laid out that day an amazing stat. And when I say it was amazing, it blew me away. I don't know if I've ever been so surprised. They said, John, we've been doing research on who buys your books, and 2/3 of your books are bought by the secular community, not the Christian community. I said, you've got to be kidding. They said, no, really, you're really appealing to a lot of business people around the country. And I remember that day, I just sensed within me, just like there are times when within you sense that there's something that you know or there's something you should do. And that day, I just sensed within me that I ought to become what I call a crossover writer. I'm a person of faith, but I ought to write to people that are not people of faith. And then I ought to put all the principles that I've learned, which, to be honest with you, the leadership principles I've learned have all been from the Bible, but put them in such a way that they would be appealing and compatible with people who didn't have faith. And so I made that decision to be a crossover writer. Now, here's what I'm talking about, owning your own dream. My dream was never tested like it was when I decided to do this. My fellow Christians didn't understand. In fact, can I tell you what they thought? They thought I sold out. In fact, their expression, if I heard this once, I heard this expression 10,000 times. John, why did you leave the ministry? And I would say to them, I didn't leave the ministry. I kind of went into it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going right where I'm supposed to be going, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be. Does this make sense to you? Now, this is where you're going to be tested on your ownership. Do you really own your dream? I'll never forget the call. Margaret and I, we had a home up in Highlands, North Carolina, kind of a retreat area where I would do some writing, and we were up in our Highlands, North Carolina home. And I got a phone call from a major donor that my nonprofit ministry equipped that trains leaders internationally. And this man, when I say it was a major donor, read my lips, a major donor. Let's try about $100,000 a year. And he said, John, I'm disturbed because I realize that you've done this crossover writing, and I think that you ought not to do this. So I explained to him, thinking if I explained it to him, he'll understand. He didn't understand. And finally, it got kind of a little bit tight on the phone. And he said, John, he said, if you don't get back to the Christian church, the people, that faith, if you don't get back to that, he said, I think I'm going to have to withdraw my donations to equip. And I'm sitting by this desk with a phone, and I'm realizing I'm about to lose $100,000 a year to my nonprofit ministry. And it got real quiet. And I called him by name, and I said, I'm very disappointed, but if you've got to withdraw your money, then I would encourage you to withdraw your money, because I'm not going to withdraw the dream. I remember I hung up, and Margaret had kind of overheard. I was up in the loft area, and she said, John, what happened? I said, I just lost $100,000 a year for my dream because of the not understanding. Are you with me? Now, let me tell you, here's what you're going to know. You're going to know you own your dream when you can't be talked out of your dream. And if you can be talked out of your dream, you don't own squat. So if everybody that criticizes or doesn't understand comes in your life and somehow you were here but you're now over there and now you've given this up, I promise you don't own your dream. So question number one is your dream really your dream? When you're training others that are pursuing your business, let me tell you something right now. If you have to talk them every week into the dream, you got to let them go. Okay?